This is how we plant trees here at Merrybower. This is how we've done it for the last 4 years, and it seems to do the trick. Bearing in mind our ground's light sandy loam, which is quite lucky, kind of like flint, which is not so lucky, and we do get boggy sometimes, a bit of water retention, so we tend to raise ours up slightly. But this is how we do it. It's worked, so rightly or wrongly, let's see how it goes. First of all, the most important thing is to mark out your trees in the proper spacings, that kind of thing. So we plant on LM106 rootstock, which is 12 foot between trees, 15 foot between rows of trees. That's recommended, that's minimum recommended, I think, so that's what we get away with. What I also do is, I also mow the area first around it. You'll see why in a bit. But we basically invert the turf and put it back in the bottom of the hole. That lets the green and the goodness of the top 6 inches rot down at root level, gives them some food, and we can also use the clippings then to mulch around. The first thing is you dig out a hole that's about 3 times the diameter of your root ball. So ours is in a pot this time. This is one I grafted up last winter. It's an old tree, we don't know the name of it. It was a local one, so we rescued it when the tree fell down last winter storms. We put bare roots in before this. We've got a few container grown ones in now. It's pretty much similar anyway, except I believe with pot grown you can actually put them in at various times of the year, whereas bare root you do when the tree's dormant. We're going to treat it like a bare root anyway. So I'm going to dig it out, and what I go all the way around it. So I tend to dig about a metre around the hole. Bear with me. I'll probably fast forward this bit. This is a bit fussier than some. Some people will probably do a slightly smaller hole. You can probably get away with it if you mulch well. But like I say, I like to remove the turf at the top. Slice it up like a bit of pie. And then lay it to one side. Of course, if you've got any perennial weeds, make sure they don't go back in. You can see it, the dandelion already from here. It can go away. Now, the reason you dig a hole out this wide is to loosen the soil up and work in any compost or anything like that you want to put in manure. We're quite lucky here. The ground's really pliable. It's pretty healthy, it's full of worms, hasn't been intensively used here, it's mainly grazed by sheep prior to this, so it's good healthy soil. We haven't added compost or manure in any of our trees, and there's an orchard of about 100 now. They've all done well. We do add a bit of bone meal though to it, and that helps the young root formation for the first 3 to 4 years. It's a strong fertiliser to add, but it's done the job for us. So we'll add some of that in the bottom of the hole. Keep an eye out for some flints as well. We're always finding flints here too. There's a dock there. He's not going back in. Meet the Three Stooges. Larry, Curly and Moe. That's a dock. Don't bury your ducks. Okay. So that's as wide as we do it. Now we'll just go down and break up the soil around the edge here. give this root something to grow into. I mean, this is probably a bit excessively large. Because our plant pot's not this wide. Yeah, I'm getting bits of stuff already, clay and what have you. Right, dig the centre out. In fact, I am digging the lot out, aren't I? Okay. Right, I'm digging the lot out so we can put the turf back in. Okay, that's the whole dugout. It's about 3 foot wide, metre wide, about a foot deep. I'll bring you close so you can see what it looks like. Well, not there yet. So that's what we're working with now. Now what we'll do is, we take the soil and just drop it in the bottom, upside down, around the edges. So that'll rot down under the weight of all the soil and basically free food for the tree once it's in. Like I say, keep any weeds out if you can. You don't want them competing with the new roots. Okay. Sorry, Mo. This way you're not wasting anything either. It's basically at this stage, if you've got weak soil like clay, you can add some, well, I say it's not weak, it's good stuff, but it's not very pliable. This is the time to add your fertiliser or manure to try and get some flexibility into it, if that's the right word. So that's our turf gone back in, upside down. A bit more here. Okay. So that's the first bit. Now what I'll do is alter the angle again a bit more. This is where I had a bit of bone meal. Just a scoop will do. Just scatter that around, and that'll release itself over the years. So from what I've been told, the first 3 to 4 years are the most important and critical. So next is the tree. So remove it, make sure you can see all this. Right, no problems. Remove it from the bucket. Give the bucket a bit of a squish to break it up. There she comes, so she's got some nice roots there. And that we don't want in. Like I say, this is an old Merrybower, we're calling it. On 106 rootstock. And the important bit is now, when you plant it, you've got to make sure that the soil level of the pot is the same level as the ground around it. That's ideally. Our soil tends to get a bit wet, so I tend to raise it by a couple of inches. By the time you put the pot in, you'll find the soil's got enough to do that anyway. So we'll get a natural runoff from our trunk downwards. If you're in a drier area, you might want to put it at the same level and put a small motor around just to catch water and collect it as and when it rains. As you can see, it's way too deep now. Easy way of testing is just to get your stake and just put it across the gap. So you can see we're quite a few inches too deep, so I'll backfill some of the soil now the bone meal's in there. So we're looking at about 4 inches, or 10 to 15 centimetres. With this one as well, you can see that generally, typically, the graft will be graft union, where we've joined the rootstock to the scion from the donor tree, will be lower down here. This rootstock was bought late in the year. It was pretty chunky stuff. As I said, the tree fell down in the storm, so we were really limited to what we had, and it was quite thin stuff at the time. So I had to graft quite high up. Luckily, all of them took, so we saved that tree. I'm just hoping it doesn't turn out to be something like a Bramley. But it was 100 years old at least, and it was the 4 of the last trees of the old orchard here at Merrybower. Right, so I'm going to backfill some of this in. Okay. Bearing in mind it'll sink a bit over time, so let's have a quick look. So that's a bit more. Like I say, it'll sink. If you were doing bare root, then what you would do is, at this stage, because yours will be deeper, I'd imagine, when you've got the soil nice and loose like this, and you put your tree in, and, well, first of all, actually with bare root, you pop your stake in first, so that if you put it in afterwards, you're liable to damage the few roots you've got on it. So you put the stake in first, offer your bare root up to it, and as you put soil in, keep shaking the tree like that, and that helps the soil get in between the roots and sort of prevents air gaps building up, which can then lead to disease and what have you, and just instability. With a potted plant it's slightly different, because we can't stick it through, we will damage something. So we'll put it through at an angle like this, missing the root ball entirely. I don't like it as much myself, it just doesn't look as neat, but that's the way it is. So yeah, we've got a slight rise now in the middle, which will do. So now we're just filling around the outside. See the ducks have given in. They've heated up all the worms, I think. So, being a bit grass possessive, I try and scrape enough away so that the grass can see the sunlight. I don't like resowing grass, so no need. hold plate. So you do realise when you're digging through soil like this, the amount of bits and bobs you come across makes you realise you are just borrowing the land whilst you're around, and that you try and give it back in a better condition than you inherited it. Right, almost there. Okay, now tamp it down with your size 10s or 11s, whatever. Making sure your tree is pretty much vertical. It'll find its way though. It helps to get the biggest person you can find for this bit. Alright, okay. So there we've got this very slight runoff. You might not be able to make it out on the camera, but it's probably a couple of inches each direction by bone meal's in there. Next thing is a stake. So we'll do that at cross purposes there. You could get a mallet, or you could just try and test this method. Again, you've got, make sure you can still see it, so yeah. The one thing I've learned about this tree planting malarkey is that everybody's got an opinion, and like I said, this is not necessarily the right or wrong way. Some books tell you to put a stake in quite tall and tie it twice. I think the method these days is basically tie it down low. What you're essentially doing with the tree ties, you're not trying to stop this thing from bending, because it's going to bend whichever way it wants to anyway, depending on the predominant wind direction. Here, as you can see, we're quite open, we get a lot of wind. The trees just go the direction they want. What you try and do with the tree tie, however, is to keep the root ball from moving around in those first few years, so the sensitive roots don't get snapped off. They've got a chance to spread underneath. Once they're in, they'll do their job, as long as you fed them right. So I'll tap that in. What you do with these chappies is go in first through the middle one. This is a small tie just for a starter tree. We'll work our way up to something bigger later on. So we'll make that reasonably snug. Then we'll loosen it off every year. And then around that, get in there, toe rag. Right, okay. A bit tighter, I see. The main thing is tighten it to the post and not the tree, because the tree's got to grow. The post has done its growing. I think it's pretty much stopped now. Okay, I'm happy with that. And last thing is, almost last thing, hair guards, or as this is a rabbit guard. 24 inch is your rabbit guard, or 2 foot, 2.5 foot is your hair guard. In metric, that's 50 centimetres for rabbits, 75 centimetres for hares. We do get hares around here, but in here, because it's all fenced off, ready for chickens and to graze it, then we tend to just do the rabbits. In the main orchard, we definitely go with the hair guards. Just roll them on underneath the cable tie. Poles are not entirely, that's centimetre chicken wire. So that'll keep that snug. Like I say, she's working her way upright anyway. This bit's straight, this bit's not, it will be. We grow ours to, MM106 grows to 12 to 15 feet, so we grow ours as bush. We've got some half standards grown on M111s. With the bush, we'll lop them off at about 80 centimetres, sort of about so high, and then they'll bush out from there. That makes the majority of it easy picking. And then the stuff on the top of the birds can have that. It keeps them amused too. Last thing we'll do is give her a walk again. The ground, to be honest, is pretty moist already, but we'll give her a good soaking just to help the soil settle down. You can see it running away already. Put it there, it's going to work its way back. And the benefit about mowing your grass beforehand is that you've got some clippings in to start off the mulching process with. Now again, throughout, you need more than this really, ideally a couple of inches layer, but we'll get some other stuff on. Here we mulch the main orchard with grass clippings. With the geese we can't do it with grass clippings because they eat all the grass. What we use then is we've got, we keep rabbits, so we've got sawdust and manure from the rabbits. That goes around the base too. The geese won't eat that. They will eat your grass clippings though if you put them on. And that's about it, or even some straw. But just to keep the first, with 106, up to the first 5 years it's good to keep your grass down. After 5 years they say that it tolerates grass growing up to it. Then personally we're going that route. We don't like using chemicals or anything if we can help it, so we don't on the trees when it comes to keeping grass down. So we just keep mulching with grass clippings. It's better than the glyphosate stuff. That's pretty much it. That's how you do it. That's come January when she's really dormant. She's still growing at the moment. So we'll cut her off and then see what growth she puts in next year. Okay, hope you learned something. Cheers, bye.